All right, it's 2026, and let's talk about where we think this cattle market's going to go. You know, it being the middle of the week already. Today's Wednesday. There's already been a few sales for the first of the year, and all of these sales are setting barn records. They're setting industry records. These feeder calves are hot, and a lot of people think that they're going to continue to keep going up. Obviously, the cash market is way above where the board is closing and everything like that, which is, it presents a lot of interesting things. Cows have kind of, like slaughter cows have kind of remained the same. They're going up too. Obviously, bred cow prices have gone up. I'm seeing a lot of heifer, pairs be worth, 5,000, 5,500. I've seen some, even higher than that. I'm seeing bred heifers for 4,500, in the third stage. I think that will go up. Yeah, I'm also seeing a lot of indications of people thinking that heifer retention is going to be high this year because there is such an upside, right? Calves are worth so much. People are going to start thinking, okay, we got to rebuild the herd at some point. And not to mention, we have been keeping these older cows and keeping them bred longer than we maybe normally would have because, well, she bred back. So we better keep her and get another calf out of her. So at some point, heifer retention is going to have to happen. When the guy, you talk to people, oh yeah, I've been keeping my heifers already. Okay, we're not talking about the guys that are keeping 10, 20, 30, 40 heifers. We're talking about the people that are going to keep, several hundred heifers. That's when the market starts to get impacted. A lot of the fear is, right, if heifer retention happens this year, then 2 years down the road, the market will then be flooded with calves and we will have an oversupply. I don't personally think that's going to be a huge issue because our numbers are down so low anyways. And when I say numbers, not only cow numbers, I'm talking about producer numbers. The number of producers is dropping like flies, and the people getting into it is also dropping like flies. Just the cost to get in. If you were a young guy, in your late teens, early 20s, and you're like, you know what, you're going to the bank and you're like, all right, I want to buy some land and I need to buy some cows, even if you want to just go buy some cheap bred cows, you're going to spend $2,000 a piece. You want to buy 10 cows, well, there's 20 grand, right? And remember, you're a young guy, you don't have anything, you don't come from anywhere, so you've got to figure out how to hustle and pay for that some way else. And you're not going to be able to pay a land payment and a cow payment on just running cows. So all that to say, I don't necessarily think that the market will be flooded. I mean, we're going to have a bigger supply than we do now, but I don't think we're going to see a drastic simply because of supply. Now, do I think demand will go down? I think at some point we have to hit, that's a market, at some point we have to hit the demand limit, right? At some point we will find out, we can't get any more for these calves because, it's just, everything is squeezed already to its max. Prices in the store, that's what everybody wants to whine about and complain about and talk about and theorize about and all that. I don't think that's going to change that much because those prices are, those are all on a contract base. And I mean, that's stuff that I don't even 100% understand fully enough to talk about, but like that price doesn't go like the, beef prices do, on the hoof, on those prices, because, we're dealing with packers, we're dealing with, I'm selling if I'm a cow calf producer, I'm selling a 300, 400, 500 pound calf. That's then going to a backgrounder, then it's going to a grower, and then it's going to a feedlot, and then it's going to, a packer, and so on and so forth. There's so many steps in between, and that's where the market fluctuation happens. And those are the people that get screwed in the end because of, they're the ones riding on all of that. Is everyone producing it up to the end point. The person purchasing it at the end point has already, they already know what they're purchasing it for before it ever even arrives, right? Okay, off of my soapbox on all that. Anyways, so what do I think is going to happen? I think that we're going to continue to see it rise at least the rest of this year. That's just a prediction. At some point, you know, I think this year people are going to start keeping heifers, maybe more so than they were, just because it's already been a couple years since people have been retaining heifers. And, you know, like I was looking at some of my cows yesterday. I've got some 13-year-old cows that we kept because they bred back. They're in good condition and they're still raising a really nice calf. You know, they're going to be 15 years old in 2 years. That's really old for a cow, you know. So on our personal operation, like we're having to keep some heifers. We're even looking at buying some, which is a fascinating thing to look at, just because, you know, if I want to go buy you know, 20 heifers, I need 100 grand just to go buy 20 good bred heifers, right? And that's a lot of money to have borrowed, you know, because I don't just have 100 grand laying around, right? And 20 is not that big. I mean, I know for the average producer, that is, because the average cow herd size is like 42 or whatever, so that would be like half your herd size. But for our operation, 20 head would not be that many. So even just buying 20 more head at 100 grand, you know, interest has come down, but even at 6-7%, you know, and you want to borrow that over 5 years, you know, the payment is a big payment. And so, yeah, I think that we all just need to ride this out. And of course, the age old saying, well, don't buy anything and just stockpile your money and rah, 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 rah. I don't know if that's true either, because, you know, inflation's going to catch up with us, and, you know, the price of inputs is just going to keep going up. You know, that's not going to stop. You know, tractors are going to keep rising. Diesel fuel is going to keep rising. Pickup trucks are going to keep rising. So yeah, I don't think that slowing down is the right answer. I have been in the mindset for the last few years that it is time to either go big or go home. I think if you are already in it, now is the time to grow. I think if you're wanting to get into it, I think now would be a great time, as long as you can figure out how to cash flow it. Because there's, in fact, no time like the present to try. So those are just some of my rambling thoughts. To summarize, I think prices on feeders are going to keep going up. I think cow prices are going to steadily rise. I think they're going to go up more and at some point level out. And I think that you know, at the end of this year, we'll know a lot more, because we will be able to look back and see, you know, how many people in fact did do a bunch of heifers, you know, retained a bunch of heifers, and where are our numbers at now. Obviously, that's why the cattle on feed reports are important. That's why cattle inventory is important. That's why all this stuff is important to think about, because you can't just go blindly into all of this trying to figure out oh, should I sell my heifers? Should I keep my heifers? Rah, 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 rah. Ultimately, if you can afford it, keep your heifers. If you can't, sell them. You know, if you got bills to pay and you've got calves to sell, well, that dictates right there that you're gonna have to sell calves. So, those are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you think I'm completely off my rocker, and maybe I'm just uneducated and don't know anything. Please educate me. Follow along. I'm gonna go to the sale barn now, see if we can't buy some high dollar 400-pound heifers.